Hello, people of no color and no culture. Electric cars have a road trip problem, even for the Secretary of Energy. This is an article dated September 10th, 2023 by NPR. When Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm set out on a 4-day electric vehicle road trip this summer, she knew charging might be a challenge, but she probably didn't expect anyone to call the cops. Ooh, call the cops. Granholm's trip through the Southeast from Charlotte, North Carolina to Memphis, Tennessee was intended to draw attention to the billions of dollars the White House is pouring into green energy and clean cars. Oh, goody. Isn't that just comforting? All our tax dollars that we could be keeping in our pockets, the government's pouring into green energy. Why are they pouring it? Because lobbyists. The administration's ambitious energy agenda, if successful, oh, isn't that nice? Pouring all this money into something, and they don't even know if it's going to be successful. It's just testing, just testing. I think we'll just set this money on fire. Could significantly cut U.S. emissions and reshape Americans' lives in fundamental ways, including by putting many more people in electric vehicles. Sure, whatever. On town hall stops along her way, Granholm made a passionate, optimistic case for this transition. Sure, for enough money, I guess I could do the same. She often put up a photo of New York City in 1900 full of horses, because New York City, that's the standard, and carriages with a single car. Then another slide, 13 years later, same street, all these cars. Can you spot the horse? 13. She did a 4-day trip, and 13, which is 1 plus 3 is 4. I don't know if you're into the numerology thing, but they try to keep that consistent when they tell a story like this. One horse was in the frame. Things are happening fast. You are in the center of it. Imagine how big clean energy industries will be in 13 years, she told one audience in South Carolina. Who's sitting still listening to this nonsense? How much stronger our economy is going to grow, how many good paying jobs we're going to create, and where we are going to lead the world. After all this time, I don't understand how anybody can be duped by the government, how many good paying jobs we're going to create. The government doesn't create jobs. The government is supposed to protect our borders. That's pretty much it, and keep everybody from fighting. That's about pretty much their job. They don't create jobs. Private industry creates jobs. Going along for the ride, the auto industry, under immense pressure to tackle its contribution to climate change, is undertaking a remarkable switch to electric vehicles. Okay, so how many electric vehicles have you seen come and go over just the last few years? But it's not necessarily going to be a smooth transition. I rode along with Granholm during her trip, eager to see firsthand how the White House intends to promote a potentially transformative initiative to the public and what kind of issues it would encounter on the road. Granholm is in many ways the perfect person to help pitch the United States' ambitious shift to EVs. That's so weird. Why is a government a person a spokesperson for a product? As a two-term former governor of Michigan, that state's doing well. She helped rescue the auto industry during the 2008 global financial crisis, and she's a longtime EV enthusiast. Her family recently switched from the Chevy Bolt to the Ford Mustang Mach-E. That makes her uniquely well positioned to envision the future of the auto industry and to sell the dream of what future could look like, or what that future could look like. But between stops, Granholm's entourage at times had to grapple with the limitations of the present, like when her caravan of EVs, including a luxury Cadillac Lyriq, a hefty Ford F-150, and an affordable Bolt electric affordable, I like how they threw that in there, Bolt electric utility vehicle, was planning to fast charge in Grovetown, a suburb of Augusta, Georgia. Her advance team realized there weren't going to be enough plugs to go around. One of the station's 4 chargers was broken and others were occupied, so an energy department staffer tried parking a non-electric vehicle by one of those working chargers to reserve a spot for the approaching Secretary of Energy. That did not go down well. A regular gas-powered car blocking the only free spot for a charger. In fact, a family that was boxed out in a sweltering day with a baby in the vehicle was so upset they decided to get the authorities involved. They called the police. The sheriff's office couldn't do anything. It's not illegal for a non-EV to claim a charging spot in Georgia. Energy department staff scrambled. This is like libtards fighting libtards. Energy department staff scrambled to smooth over the situation, including sending other vehicles to slower chargers until Both the frustrated family and the secretary had room to charge. This is funny. The left eating itself. John Ryan, a driver of an electric BMW, pulled up after everything was settled. It was his turn to wait. It's just par for the course, he shrugged. They'll get it together at some point. Right, like heart failure with the no-no shot. Just par for the course. Part and parcel of living in a big city. They would be the government, the automakers, the charging networks to like Electrify America and ChargePoint, and the companies like Walmart, Shell, and 7-Eleven that are entering the charging game. And they are in fact desperate to get it together. Car makers have hundreds of billions of dollars of investment on the line, and they are embracing Tesla's technology and teaming up with rivals to try to tackle the charging problem. Right. There's no energy though. They're trying to get rid of fossil fuels. So, and they're putting in all these solar fields. They're putting in all these wind turbines or windmills or whatever giant wind. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. The infrastructure doesn't. We don't have the infrastructure for all these energy needs, and this is an increased energy need. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is pouring billions into a nationwide network of electric chargers. Oh, the U.S. government taking our tax dollars, trying to fix the very problem Granholm was encountering. Create a problem, solve a problem. I drove an electric vehicle myself, and I've test driven many more as NPR's auto reporter. I know how easy it can be to charge when everything goes well and how annoying it can be when things go poorly. Riding along with Granholm, I came away with a major takeaway. EVs that aren't Teslas have a road trip problem, and the White House knows it's urgent to solve this issue. Really? Solving the road trip problem. The road trip has long loomed large in the American automotive imagination. Road trips are a tiny fraction of the trips Americans take. Drivers mostly commute or drive around town and at home. Charging an EV is much easier, not to mention cheaper, than fueling up with gasoline. Right now it's free, but they're going to charge. You just plug in overnight and you're good to go every morning. Right. So now they charge you to put air in your tires. They charge you, what else they charge you to do that used to be free? It used to be free. I think it used to be free. You could go and put air in your tires, but now they charge. On a practical basis, making sure everyone can charge at home would seem much more important than building road trip chargers. And this is a real concern for some drivers. For many drivers, it's not charging at home that worries them, it's what they'll do on the road. According to the auto data giant JD Power, who are these people? JD Power and Associates. Worries about public chargers are the number one reason why would be EV buyers are reluctant to make this switch. Even outranking concerns about high prices and driver satisfaction with public chargers is getting worse, not better. Or it could be that the price of the battery is not replacing the battery. Cost of replacing a battery in an electric vehicle is not smart, not economically feasible. Tesla chargers are significantly better than the competition, and most of the electric vehicles in the US are Teslas. Tesla is opening up its exclusive network to more vehicles, which could transform the charging experience as soon as next year. But not all automakers have embraced Tesla's technology. And although Tesla dominates the EV market, the Biden administration wants every automaker to go electric quickly and every driver to have access to fast, reliable charging. Sure, bringing in all these new Americans and filling up all these one-horse towns and overwhelming the infrastructure. Oh, and just so you know, in Southwest Ohio, the rural places, they've threatened us. They're saying they're going to jack up our property tax 40%, and they've already doubled just overnight. They doubled our electric bill. So right now, our electric bill is the same as a winter bill. Our summer bill is the same as like we don't use hardly any electricity in the summertime except for the air conditioning, maybe at night. And our electric bill doubled. Isn't that fabulous? So they think that they're going to add electric vehicles to this mix. Anyway, ultimately, we want to make it super easy for people to travel long distances, Granholm told me. We're all going to be living in our cars because we won't be able to afford property taxes or electric bills. But as she knows, long-distance travel in non-Tesla EVs are not always super easy today. Problem 1. Planning is cumbersome. The Secretary's trip had been painstakingly mapped out ahead of time to allow for charging. We stopped at hotels with slower level 2 plugs for overnight charging and then paused at super fast chargers between cities. That required upfront work that a gas powered road trip simply doesn't require. My car can hypothetically locate a nearby charger on the road, as with many EVs, that feature is built into an app on the car's infotainment screen. Infotainment. So I shouldn't have to plan ahead, but in reality, I use multiple apps to find chargers, read reviews to make sure they work, and plot out convenient locations for a 30-minute pit stop. A 30-minute pit stop? That's a long time to stop if you're traveling across the country. A charger by a restaurant, for instance, instead of one located at a car dealership. At a stop in South Carolina, Granholm told audiences she recognized the importance of making chargers easy to find on apps. For chargers to qualify for new federal money, which is tax dollars, the Energy Secretary explained they have to be every 50 miles and within 1 mile off the charging corridor, and they have to be app enabled. So you have to be able to see with your phone, is this charger available so that I can use it, right? Problem number 2. Not enough chargers. One reason road trips take so much planning, some parts of the U.S., including much of the Southeast, simply don't have many high-speed chargers, also called DC fast chargers. Some parts of the rural parts. I happen to live on the edge of a charging desert. Charging desert, new word. I hate this generation. I hate this era. They always have to come up with these stupid new words to describe things. Charging desert. In my Virginia hometown, there are no DC fast chargers except for a Tesla supercharger station, which I can't use yet. That's not a problem since I charge at home. Much more problematic is that if I want to drive through West Virginia, I can access only 11 fast chargers in the entire state. That's actually progress. 3 weeks ago, there were only 8. Progress. I hate that word too. I really hate the word progress. Where chargers are in short supply, drivers sometimes have to wait, like Granholm's team did in Grovetown, Georgia. The experience could get even worse as the number of electric vehicles on the road increases in coming years. I don't think it's going to increase. People can't afford it. Their electric bill just doubled. Well, at least in where I live, it doubled. They're threatening to jack up our property taxes. Who's going to be able to afford a car payment? Not just any old car payment, but one for the cost of a car that's the same as a house. Clearly, we need more high-speed chargers, particularly in the South, Granholm told me at the end of her trip. She emphasized the $7.5 billion investment that the Biden administration is making in building more public chargers. Right, so that's $7 billion tax dollars that they've taken out of our pockets right now to create this stupid crap. Money that's currently being distributed to states. Distributed to states. By the end of this, I think we'll start to see those chargers popping up along the charging corridor, she said. Problem 3, not fast enough. There was another DC charging station about a 10-minute drive from that stop in Grovetown, but that station's chargers were nowhere near as fast. In fact, aside from the chargers reserved for Teslas and one charging station for just for Rivians, I don't know what a Rivian is. I think it's a type of car, electric car, but does it mean something else? SNAI. Well, anyway, it was more than an hour's drive to the next actually fast charger. And that brings us to the next problem with America's fast charger network. It's too slow. When DC fast chargers were first built, 50 kilowatts, a measure of charging speed, was considered speedy. Times have changed. Many newer vehicles can charge at least 3 times faster than that, but those older chargers remain on roads, making up a sizable chunk of the country's fast charging infrastructure. That doesn't matter much for cheaper vehicles that can't charge very fast anyway, like my Bolt. Cheaper vehicle. Oh, I gotta look up and see how much a Bolt is. I'm sure it's ridiculously priced. But for newer, faster charging vehicles, especially big ones with giant batteries, it could be the difference between waiting 20 minutes to charge or waiting an hour. This problem is easing over time. Can you imagine if you had to go to the gas station and wait 20 minutes to an hour for gas to be put in your vehicle? Screw that crap. This problem is easing over time. Most new chargers are on the faster end of the spectrum, and the federal incentives are available only for chargers that are 150 kilowatts or faster. Problem number 4, not reliable enough. Of course, having a super fast charger doesn't do you any good if the dang thing doesn't work. On the Secretary's road trip, that stop in Grovetown included a charger with a dead black screen. At another stop in Tennessee, the Chevy Bolt that I was riding in charged at one-third the rate it should have. Electrify America says that's not an isolated problem. A faulty component has caused a number of chargers to be derated while the company works on a fix. Companies like Electrify America, funded by Volkswagen as part of its penalty for the Dieselgate scandal. That's weird. So, as a punishment for a scandal, whatever. As a punishment, you have to pay for this. Okay. Are among the private players that have helped build out America's current charging infrastructure, but reliability is proving to be an issue. JD Power found that when non-Tesla drivers pull up at a charging station, they leave without charging 20% of the time because the chargers were either all busy or not functioning. How are they measuring that anyway? The federal government has responded with a new requirement. Highway chargers that get federal funds will have to prove they're operational at least 97% of the time. The good news, charging can be great. Despite overcrowding, broken chargers, and slow speeds, charging on the road worked most of the time for Granholm's team. I think 2 days in, I would totally buy an EV, an energy department staffer who was driving an EV for the first time mused halfway through the trip. Like, it would be pretty easy to do a road trip. You have to stop for lunch anyway, so you stop, charge, keep going. Okay, so normal people don't pack an ice chest and then, if you stop to get gas, pull out your sandwich, eat that, shove that in your face, and then keep going, or eat while you're driving. Road trip charging can be cheap too. Granholm's 770-mile trip cost one of the energy department's drivers just $35 total. $35 total, less than half of what gasoline would have run in a similar vehicle. Right. So $7.5 billion to have a $35 whatever. On a more basic level, Granholm's team was ultimately able to charge in every town it stopped at. There was no risk of being stranded, which was the fear of which was the fear of very early adopters of EVs back before public chargers were available. And if you have a garage, a driveway, or EV chargers at your workplace, day-to-day charging is even easier. And the cost of electricity doubling, sure. Personally, I plug my Bolt into a standard outlet when I'm home and into a level 2 charger at NPR's headquarters when I'm in Washington, D.C. I don't sit around and wait for it to charge. I just go about my life, and when I'm ready to go, so is the car. That's not just as easy as filling up a gas-powered car. It's significantly easier. Really? So I don't know about you guys, but I fill up my car about once a week or every other week. Tesla superchargers, and then of course there are the Tesla chargers which simply work better than the other chargers out there. JD Power has found that Tesla drivers successfully charge at 96% of the superchargers they visit. Tesla invested in chargers as a way to sell cars, building fast, reliable charging stations where people would want them, regardless of whether the chargers could individually be profitable. Oh, sure, if you charge like what, $70,000, $100,000 for a car, part of that cost is going into these chargers. They're getting their money back, plus the government kickbacks. Tesla also defined the rest of the auto industry in using its own charging technology rather than the carefully negotiated industry-wide standard. Opening up the walled garden. The strategy paid off. For years, Tesla kept its network of superchargers as a walled garden. Tesla drivers raved about them, but no one else could use them. That started to change this year when Tesla struck a deal with the White House to open some chargers to the general public. And the walled garden blew wide open after Ford announced it was adopting Tesla's charging technology. Future Fords will come with the Tesla-style plug, and starting in January, existing Ford owners can buy an adapter and plug in. The idea was born. Where else? On a road trip. Ford CEO Jim Farley recently told NPR he was driving with his kids on a family vacation past a huge, conveniently located Tesla supercharger station. His kids wondered why Farley, who was driving a Mustang Mach E, couldn't just stop there to charge. His kids. Oh, those are such smart kids. Farley explained that they couldn't because those were Tesla chargers. When he explained why they couldn't charge there, his kids were blunt, as he recalled to NPR in an interview in August. Well, that's stupid. They have, like, a lot of free open spots there. How many of you out there with children allow your children to say stupid? And the idea for the Tesla deal was born. Other private sector solutions. Ford's announcement kicked off an astonishing shift. In the weeks after, General Motors, Rivian, Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, and Nissan all announced that they too were adopting Tesla's technology. This means that as soon as next year, the EV road trip experience could be dramatically different for non-Tesla drivers. This is a painful article. Let's skip down to the bottom, see if there's anything. Road trip in the future. Those private-led efforts, as well as the muscle and money provided by the government, could prove a game-changer. Muscle, huh? The private sector has stepped up, Granholm told me toward the end of her road trip. No, the private sector has not stepped up. The private sector has been forced into this. The best-selling vehicles are going to be the kind that the average person can afford. And $50,000 for a vehicle is ridiculous. That's the cost of a house, a small house in the middle of nowhere. Granholm has long been an energetic and optimistic pitchwoman for the electric vehicle future, even before her current position. I do not understand how a government official can be a spokesperson for an industry. All right, well, here we go. This is just long, painful. I wonder if there's any comments here. I don't see any comments, but this long, painful article, they're trying to pitch this BS. The infrastructure cannot handle all these new Americans moving in. The infrastructure already can barely handle all the people that were already here. That's why we were told to stop having large families, because the infrastructure is maxed out. So it's just a pyramid scheme, and as soon as we got to wait for the pyramid scheme to collapse. All right, people of no color and no culture, thank you so much for listening. I look forward to your thoughts below.